So I seen this at first and I kind of wrote it off because a nigga like me, I was kind of done with Kanye. I was like, I'm not worried about, like, I wasn't paying no attention to him. I was like, yeah, blah blah blah. Robbery was the best song. Hey my nigga, you know what you talking about, boy. That was like a standout track right there, man. Like I had so much fun on that one. It was like, and niggas was complaining about the Doechii feature. I think her feature perfectly, like, the song calls for that feature. Like, obviously the fucking world building of the song is that type of shit. But yeah, shout out ASAP Rocky, shout out Doechii. Yeah, this Kanye apology. I kind of read it. I mean, you know, it's just an apology. You know, it's whatnot. And as far as it go, you know, it made a lot of sense. Sounded sincere. But it's not the apology that is like the thing that changes, or, you know, it's what you do. Yeah, so it's whatever Kanye do moving forward that's actually the real difference. Her part fit in, and shit made it better. Yeah, hell yeah, nigga. What the fuck we talking about, nigga? What we talking about, boy? Kanye better go back to old Kanye. I don't think he got it, bro. I don't know if he got it, bro. That nigga's on top of whatever he be doing outside the shit, he's also washed musically at the same time. But yeah, yikes.
Serious. Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you're doing well. Everybody knows why we are here. Kanye West.
I ain't got no help.
Formerly Kanye West, currently Ye. He has apologized. He has given yet another formal public apology, taking out an advertisement in the Wall Street Journal.
Hold on, nigga, I'm thirsty. I don't think he could touch Kanye music wise though. Ye, I don't think Ye can touch Kanye. I was just about to say fuck it and bring the whole card in here, but nah, I feel like having decency today. Hey, if the cameras wasn't on, though, I'll be drinking straight from the jug, nigga. Late Registration was his best album. That is absolute facts, nigga. My favorite song, okay, going back and listening to Kanye albums is hard too. It's like listening to like a Michael Jackson album. Like it's just all classics that you already know in there. But a song that I wasn't listening to that much, that I, you know, pulled from, that I liked a lot was We Major. Like that whole hard, bro. I just love the instrumental on there. But yeah, that's definitely his best album, I ain't gonna lie.
Of all places to do this. As some of you may know, his new album
Yeezus though too.
Is said to be.
It's just on that type of Diamonds from Sierra Leone. Yep.
You're aware.
Oh, I fuck with that shit too.
Ye does have this tendency
fucking
to
Jay-Z on that bitch.
Push them back.
I think it's a remix.
Disappear them. Go in different directions. You're aware. Ye does have this tendency to promise projects, push them back, disappear them. Go in different directions, do something else. Who really truly knows if Bully is ever really
The Life of Pablo too. That's one I remember, you know, actually being there for. Of course, bro. That was just a fucking my chest hurt from this shit. Damn. But yeah, ones I fuck with, Yeezus, The Life of Pablo, nigga, fucking Saint Pablo, fucking what's the, bro? I'm stupid. What's the one? Okay, No More Parties in LA. What's the main track on that? Father Stretch My Hands. That jump, bro. Come on, bro. Niggas at that point, niggas was like Kanye's wash. Bring back the old Kanye. On that album, he was like, I want the old Kanye, straight from the gold Kanye. Like they was still calling him wash.
3. And, you know, that's not to say he'll never make another record again. You know, we could switch to a different album entirely. But as of right now, what many fans are saying is that Bully is the album to look out for. Presumably there is some kind of release, something around the corner. Could this continuation of the Apology tour be an extension of wanting to essentially, you know,
okay, the thing is, he dropped the album and it wasn't as good, and this nigga dropped the redux of that album. Now, of course, I like when people do that when it's like better, but I usually don't like niggas like making whole other versions of the album to like replace like a redux or something like that. I mean, unless it's better. But for example, this nigga JPEG Mafia just be updating the album without telling nobody, and you listen to the songs and them shits is just different. Like, bro, don't do that shit, bro. I already got attached to the original album. But yeah, I only like that when it's better.
On his good side, stay in people's good graces.
But nah, definitely not decent, nigga. No more parties in LA. St. Pablo, Father Stretch My Hands, nigga.
Past couple of years of anti-Semitism, crazy, unhinged right-wing rhetoric, a lot of distrust going Ye's way. Understandably.
I think it's 75% good.
Chat saying right now it's dropping on Friday. Least. I don't know. We'll just have to
Friday,
see,
like this Friday.
Yeah, the new Kanye is dropping immediately, dropping tomorrow, dropping here, dropping there, and then it doesn't happen. I mean, eventually a drop does occur, but 9 times out of 10, when people say Kanye is about to drop something, he doesn't. But it could happen, not entirely ruling it out.
Niggas still be talking about fucking Yandhi.
Just not really hold out hope for promised release dates with Kanye.
I think Yandhi turned into The Life of Pablo though, right?
Anyway,
I think that's like
I thought while we are here together with additional commentary from you guys, we would look over Ye's apology here and see exactly what he had to say. Because, look, the last time we had a discussion around this, it was when he dropped that video of him hanging out with that rabbi and having a discussion with him. Given that we have seen apologies for this type of behavior before from Kanye, only for him, Ye, for him to turn around and basically do the same thing again, but worse in a lot of cases. This has caused many to look at this apology and just kind of shrug.
I did that.
Like, so what? He's done this before. We've heard this before. Is this going to be any different? We will just have to see. I will say, in Ye's defense, in the wake of, unless chat can remind me here, you know, again, someone in chat just said it's a cycle. And there's definitely like, you know, patterns here to be observed. But can anyone in chat remind me? Because since his last apology, since that video apology I just mentioned, has there been a crash out? I mean, know if there's been a crash out.
That's what I said, you know. I was looking at that too. He been chill for like the last like couple months. He apologized then to the I don't know, a representative of the Jewish community. He ain't had nothing happen since then, you know, he been out the way. But you know, apology is cool, you know, it helps smooth things over. But that's not the thing that changes stuff. It's just, you know, what you do moving forward. And especially with Kanye, you got to do that because that nigga have a crash out, just go down the fucking rabbit hole, and then come back to like be like, I'm good now, and then repeat the cycle.
Has there been a crash out? I don't think there's been a crash out since then. And look, I'm not coming on here to say, okay, so people are saying no. Look, here's the thing. Kanye, over the course of his career, I'm not saying he's always been like this. He's always espoused this. He's always believed this, the hateful things that we've been seeing him say over the past couple of years. I'm not saying that, but he has always been someone who is unhinged to some degree, has had a difficult time, very difficult time filtering himself, has not always had the best or most constructive internal thoughts.
Bro, looking back, nigga, Kanye first album, when it didn't win for whatever it wasn't nominated for, it was like a BET award. Like, this was this nigga first album. He stormed the fucking stage talking about, nah, they ain't deserve it, I did. Like, that nigga was like that shit from the jump, bro.
When they do get out there into the world, they don't always reflect positively upon him. However, the state of his career has not always been this bad. I do, sort of like credit that to him falling down a lot of very weird ideological rabbit holes, but more.
Yeah, he wasn't ever at a point where niggas was done with him until like after Donda, like Vultures. Niggas was like, there was no more people that was standing with Kanye like they did back then. Cause there was always a certain crowd that was like, but he right though. And all that, yeah, there's no more of that. Like, niggas like, all right, bro.
Importantly, I credit that to him kind of having little to no self-control and also rejecting the help and the influence of everyone around him who might have his better interests at heart. Be that his ex, Kim Kardashian, who, regardless of how you feel about her, seemed to the best that she could, try to support him through his many public outbursts and, sort of like frame them in a way that didn't make him come across as so manic and so out of control. And who knows who else on his team, who he had been working with for years, may have distanced themselves in the wake of everything he's been saying. There very clearly was a point in recent years in his career where there was really nobody standing between him and whatever camera or microphone he could get in front of to say the most wild, unhinged stuff. And that has not always been the state of his career. That has not always been the state of his PR. He's had his outbursts in the past, but never has Kanye had completely unfiltered access to just saying whatever he has wanted to immediately when he's felt it, just boom, like that. And I think due to social media and due to maybe a pushing away of people around him who've might have been a bit of a stopgap in the past, we've just been seeing worse and worse and worse and worse outbursts.
Yeah, bro, that's basically
with
what I
that
was
being
saying.
said, it's been a while since he's had that kind of interaction with the internet. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe he's listening to others. Maybe he's gaining a bit of self-control. Somebody in chat just said he was off the nitrous because there were allegations of him getting potentially illegal access to nitrous through a dentist. And, not to make light of any of this because it's very unfortunate, it's very sad, who, was basically allowing him to get access to this stuff. And he was allegedly abusing it. So, given that it's been a while since he's had an outburst or, any kind of like the worst, things have definitely not gone downhill since the worst we've seen from him so far. We'll say that, and he has not done a 180 since his last apology. And it's been a minute since then. So one would hope maybe we are on a positive path forward. So with that being said, 2 apologies in a row, the second one here being text and seeming to be more thorough, is potentially a positive sign. I don't know. We can cross our fingers as we look through this and see what Ye is saying here. So without any further ado, let's read this. Shout out to Philip Lewis, who's a very cool guy, very based guy, very awesome guy. If you come across Phil Lewis on whatever social media platform you see Phil Lewis on, be it Twitter, be it a short form platform, anything like that, follow Phil Lewis. Phil Lewis is a cool guy. Based Phil Lewis. Shout out to Phil Lewis. Always a good guy, that Phil Lewis. So again, this is not just an editorial and opinion piece. This is a paid advertisement in the Wall Street Journal. So money was paid to post this.
Nope, this nigga dropped.
The Wall Street Journal saw fit to post this. 25 years ago, I was in a car accident that broke my jaw and caused injury to the right frontal lobe of my brain. At the time, the focus was on the visible damage, the fracture, the swelling, and the immediate physical trauma. The deeper injury, the one inside of my skull, went unnoticed. Comprehensive scans were not done. Neurological exams were limited. and the possibility of a frontal lobe injury was never raised. It wasn't properly diagnosed until 2023. That medical oversight caused serious damage to my mental health and led to my bipolar type 1 diagnosis. That's the claim. I personally don't know enough about bipolar or brain, the science of brain injuries to say whether or not bipolar. I mean, I've known people who are bipolar from, my experience with them. Their, condition was not caused by an injury in a car crash. So I don't know enough about the history of that to sort of confirm the potential of that happening. But again, this is his claim. Bipolar disorder comes with its own defensive system, denial. When you're manic, you don't think you're sick. You think everyone else is overreacting. You feel like you're seeing the world more clearly than ever, when in reality, you're losing your grip entirely. Again, not a bipolar expert, but having known and dealt with people who are bipolar, I can say this much feels true from personal anecdotal experience. Psychiatrist here, that's just deflecting.
Yeah.
Grain of salt. I don't know if cannot confirm that this person is a psychiatrist, but there's not many people in my chat usually claiming to be psychologists or psychiatrists for that matter, but we'll continue on. Once people label you as crazy, you feel as if you cannot contribute anything meaningful to the world. It's easy for people to joke and laugh it off, when in fact, this is very serious, debilitating. It's a very serious, debilitating disease you can die from. According to the World Health Organization and Cambridge University, people with bipolar disorder have a life expectancy that is shortened by 10 to 15 years on average, and a 2 to 3 higher all-cause mortality rate than the general population. This is on par with severe heart disease, diabetes, type 1, HIV, cancer, all lethal and fatal if left untreated. Obviously, I'm jumping in here again before I read further, but look, there are people on the internet who are very savage and callous and uncaring and nasty and cruel and will laugh and will make a joke out of anything. Okay, that much is true. But a majority of the most serious and concerned of us, and I would count myself among them, I would imagine some who were very close to Kanye, people whose livelihoods, literally depended on Ye being a stable, consistent, successful artist who was not shooting his own career in the foot. I remember the very loud chorus of people who were commenting on this in the media, in the music space. Even many of his biggest fans were encouraging him to take this seriously.
To seek help,
this seriously. I don't recall the vast majority of people just treating this as a joke. In fact, I personally, when I reviewed the Ye album, I thought some points of the record were pretty interesting and brave in terms of how he approached his own feelings around bipolar.
Oh, okay.
And that wasn't an album everybody liked, obviously. People had their own preferences and reasons for not liking it. At least from what I recall, a great deal of people, at least a significant amount of people, people who were worth taking seriously, were taking this condition that Kanye was saying he had very seriously and were sort of disheartened by the fact that he very clearly wasn't doing what he needed to do in order to keep it treated. The scariest thing about this disorder is how persuasive it is when it tells you you don't need help. It makes you blind, but convinced you have insight. You feel powerful, certain, and unstoppable. I lost touch with reality. This is kind of the quote everybody is kind of using, talking about it. I lost touch with reality, which honestly is more of an admission, is honestly one of the realest things he said over the past couple of years. It's one of the realest things he said over the past couple of years. He literally, regardless of how you feel about this apology so far, that's the realest he's been in quite a while. It's still debatable as to whether or not he's fully gained it back, given his condition and how he describes it. It's most likely going to be something he struggles with to some degree or another from here forward, but still.
We just want Pete Kanye back,
that's a pretty real admission, regardless of what his motivations are, which we'll sort of talk about after we're done reading this. or motivations potentially could be. Things got worse the longer I ignored the problem. I said and did things I deeply regret. Some of the people I love the most, I treated the worst. You endured fear, confusion, humiliation, and exhaustion of trying to love someone who was, at times, unrecognizable. Looking back, I became detached from my true self. In fact, that fractured state, I gravitated toward the most destructive symbol I could find, the swastika, and even sold t-shirts bearing it. One of the difficult aspects of having bipolar type 1 is the disconnected moments, many of which I still cannot recall, that led to poor judgment and reckless behavior that oftentimes feels like an out-of-body experience. I regret and am deeply mortified by my actions in that state and am committed to accountability, treatment, and meaningful change. It does not excuse what I did. I'm not a Nazi or an anti-Semite. I love Jewish people. All right. I will echo some sentiments I have read that, like, this statement seems very much not Kanye and written by somebody else. There have been allegations of people saying, oh, this feels like AI wrote it and da 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 da. Regardless of all of that, whether
Probably
or not
a
it was
PR team, you know,
penned by somebody else or something else, I still think that's a positive sign. I still think that's a good thing. I don't read that as fakeness necessarily, because in the past, for Kanye to be able to even exhibit a bit of what seemed like stability, I mean, he had to be able to pass control, a willingness of control over to other people to represent him in ways that maybe he couldn't at certain times. And for him to be able to relinquish enough control to put out a statement like this that is measured and is sensible, again, we can debate the motivations going into it, but again, the surface level reads as very sensible, much more sensible than Kanye, Ye, has been willing to come across in most contexts, be it in an interview, be it in a random video, be it in a tweet, whatever. It says something that, despite the fact that maybe to some degree there's still a voice in his head, an opinion, a point of view, something that he is struggling with that's telling him to feed further into these conspiratorial ideas and so on and so forth. He's clearly working against that at this point. And again, is willing to put out something that is measured and is self-critical of his behavior. Let's read further. To the Black community, which held me down through all the highs and lows and the darkest of times, the Black community is unequivocally the foundation of who I am.
Yo, this
I'm
nigga
so
can't read.
sorry to have let you down. I love us.
Oh, that nigga.
Okay, he goes further into sort of describing the situation, but, you know, I feel like that needs further commentary. However, you know, obviously take with a grain of salt anything I say, because I'm a white guy. But with that being said, I do think, you know,
W self-awareness.
it is something there for him to have at least kind of sidebarred and said that. Even though maybe in a lot of respects, this should be like potentially a main focus in this apology or in another conversation, because for years there have been a lot of longtime hip hop fans who have been very upset with Kanye for the way that certain statements and perspectives have just sat out there unchecked, unmitigated, uncontrolled, like years and years ago, his statement about slavery being a choice. And that's not the only questionable statement he's ever made when it's come to...
If slavery was a choice, nigga, the other choice was death. What was the point of him saying that shit?
You know, the way he feels about the Black community, or just the way that African Americans have to sort of like suffer through the indignities of American politics and the racial inequity of the system that we live under, which, I mean, we're seeing the realities of every day as there are masked thugs roving the streets, killing people for protest.
The nigga said, hey, I'm the racist one, bro. That nigga said masked thugs. I was like, huh? He means ICE, not black people. Hey, you got me, bro.
And so on and so forth. You know, what a lot of people are up in arms about now and angry about now is a reality that Black Americans have had to suffer for decades. I mean, you know, Minnesota is also where George Floyd was killed. Minnesota was also where Philando Castile was killed. I'll admit my memory here is not great. I don't know if Kanye ever said anything out of pocket about George Floyd. Maybe chat remembers. I don't recall that being the case. But there have been other statements out there that, again, longtime fans, some people are saying he did. Again, would need confirmation on that.
Kanye West false claim about George Floyd death may spread lawsuit.
There are a lot of black fans, longtime hardcore fans, hip hop fans.
Oh, he donated to the family.
Have been looking at him sideways ever since statements like that, way before everything.
So bitch ass up, nigga talking about some stop dead naming is worse than misgendering. Eat this dick, bitch. Don't nobody care about that.
I've been looking at him sideways ever since statements like that, way before everything he was doing with regards to the swastika, so on and so forth. Didn't he donate to George Floyd's family? Yeah, the thing is, I'm not fully remembering or recalling anything that was purely negative vis-a-vis Kanye with George Floyd. I even remember him sort of like, wasn't he out and about for like a Black Lives Matter protest and everything? He said on Drink Champs, look, here's the thing. During the points at which Kanye was dealing with a lot of this, truth be told, there probably wasn't any one significant political issue, social issue that he was 100% sensible on, even if there were moments where he was like, kind of like making the right choices or saying the correct things. But with that being said, in early 2025, I fell into a 4-month manic episode of psychotic, paranoid, and impulsive behavior that destroyed my life. As the situation became increasingly unsustainable, there were times I didn't want to be here anymore. Having bipolar disorder is not a state of constant mental illness. When you go into the manic episode, you are ill at that point. When you are not in an episode, you are completely, quote unquote, normal. And that's when the wreckage from the illness hits the hardest. Hitting rock bottom a few months ago, my wife encouraged me to finally get help. I have found comfort in Reddit forums of all places. Different people speak of being in manic or depressive episodes of a similar nature. I read their stories and realized that I was not alone. Okay, interesting that, Kanye, pretty online guy historically. The idea that he would be getting some kind of like inspiration from a Reddit thread is not really all that surprising, honestly. It's a very clean, well put together statement that looks like it's been carefully edited and assembled, even if all the logic doesn't flow. It's like a very well assembled statement. I read their stories and realized that I was not alone. It's not just me who ruins their entire life once a year despite taking meds every day and being told by the so-called best doctors in the world that I am not bipolar, but merely experiencing symptoms of autism. Has he not been formally diagnosed as being bipolar? Wasn't he diagnosed in UCLA? Yeah, the narrative around whether or not he has been diagnosed has been confusing. Like the water's definitely been muddied a bit around that topic. Regardless of what the truth is or what the diagnosis is, Kanye has definitely not been acting in a way I think any rational person would act. It's been, and look, obviously there have been a lot of like crazy psychotic right wingers who have been quick to kind of like take advantage of the fact that Kanye has been willing to say and express certain radical, racist, extreme ideologies. But even the worst among these people behave in fashions that are more logical and more self-preservationist than Kanye has been acting over the past couple of years. So, not to say that anybody who he's been, having kind of endorse these views or support him on the back end, like, I don't know, Milo Yiannopoulos, freakazoids like that. These people are obviously not normal and are not to, be trusted in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. Right. But the thing is, like, the way that he operates, again, seems at least logical to me from the standpoint of looking at him like a grifter or something like that. There's been nothing about Kanye's behavior that has said to me personally, oh yeah, this guy is definitely like consciously acting in his own self-interest. He's clearly been on this path of self-destruction that has gone so far and so beyond what I think anybody who was doing this performatively would logically do. My words as a leader in my community have real global impact and influence. In my mania, I lost complete sight of that. So, because again, a lot of what Kanye was saying was said with almost complete ignorance, the sorts of impacts it was having. I mean, you know, with one of the most crazy and anti-Semitic things that he said off the bat when he first started going down that road, if you guys remember, like that same week, that's when those guys turned up on that bridge with that sign. When I was reacting to Vultures originally, there were some serious freaks going crazy, absolutely apeshit in the comments, saying racist stuff, doxing me, going absolutely batshit insane. And it seemed like, and look, I couldn't have been the only, this is not a woe is me moment. I couldn't have been the only person who was dealing with that harassment. I couldn't have been the only person who was like, you know, sort of going through those kinds of comments and those kinds of like, you know, weird engagements. And it seemed like he just had no awareness of that whatsoever and just did not care and just didn't care whatsoever. So again, another very real statement in the midst of this apology here. As I find my new baseline and new center through an effective regime of medication, therapy, exercise, and clean living, I have newfound much needed clarity. I am pouring my energy into positive, meaningful art, music, clothing, design, and other new ideas to help the world. I'm not asking for sympathy or a free pass, though
Yes,
I aspire to earn your forgiveness. I write today simply to ask for your patience and understanding as I find my way home. Okay. All right. So that's the statement. I'm going to rate. I'm going to rate that apology pretty positively. There may be some elements of it where he's kind of like, you know, explaining away or blaming his state on certain experiences and stuff that he, you know, may not necessarily have all the facts, like all the ducks in a row in order to like prove this is the reason I'm dealing with this and so on and so forth. But at the very least, he's taking accountability and he's putting it on himself to continue forward on the path that he's currently on. And he's not demanding forgiveness. He's not expecting it. And seemingly he understands that even after saying what he's saying here, he may not get the forgiveness that he seeks.
You know, he already saying what I said. Nice little video.